Hello, how are you? I'm a little tired. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today it is June 13th, 2023. It's on Tuesday and sunny. How are you spending Tuesday? How do you like Tuesday? Do you like Tuesday or hate Tuesday? Are you getting used to the condition, working atmosphere after day offs on Saturday and Sunday? Do you have a plan for the weekend? Do you have a plan for the next weekend? Have you had a spiritual treatment? Have you had a spiritual treatment? Have you had a spiritual treatment and did it work? I've had spiritual treatment, but it didn't work. Spending my time for my hobby worked helped me more. Spiritual improvement, spiritual treatment, spiritual healing, spiritual healing, spiritual healing. Spiritual stability. Maybe happiness will come from spiritual stability. Spiritual. Spiritual happiness will be the base for happiness, I think. Spiritual. Spiritual happiness will not come from buying objects, goods, products. Do you know how to obtain spiritual happiness? Do you know how to get spiritual happiness? Do you know how to get spiritual happiness? Do you believe in something religion? I often confuse the word religion with region. I often confuse the word religious with region. Religious conflict. Religious way of thinking. Religious policy. Religious teachings. 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 Religious. In the religious teachings, eating meat is prohibited. In the religious teachings, eating meat is regarded as bad, evil, religious, religious conservatives in the party. There are some religious conservatives in the party. Religious conservatives. There are some religious conservatives in the party. Religious conservatives in the party. Religious conservatives. 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 Religious. Religious establishment. Religious spiriting. Religious whole. Religious purposes. Religious conservatives exist in the party. Religious conservatives exist some in the party. Religious conservatives. Religious conservatives. I don't know about religious conservatives at all. Do you know anything about religious conservatives? What are the purpose of them? The religious went back to the church after serving the tutor, home tutor, in the house, which was her contract. The religious went back to her church after serving a home tutor in the house. Were you educated religiously? Were you educated religiously? Religiously? Were you educated religiously? 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 Were you educated religiously? Religiously? Were you educated religiously? Were you educated religiously? 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 Religiously diverse district. The district was religiously diverse. The district were religiously diverse because there were temples for different religions. Religiously diverse. Speaking of the world, it is religiously diverse. Speaking of the world, it is religiously diverse. There are many kinds of religions. Religiously diverse. Religiously, 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 religiously. 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 Religiously diverse. Religiously diverse community, religiously diverse district, region, country, area. Religiously diverse, religiously diverse population, religiously diverse population. As a nation accept more immigrants from other countries, it will be religiously diverse population spontaneously. Religiously diverse population, religiously diverse school, religiously, religiously. Believe it or not, believe it or not, he vanished suddenly in front of me, like a smoke. The sparks from the fireworks vanished until they reached the ground. Reached the ground. Reached the ground. The spark from the fireworks vanished. Before they reached the ground. Vanish. Population will vanish. No. Popularity will vanish. Popularity will vanish with time. Fortunately, the pandemic it's been vanishing. It's vanishing. The sparks from the fireworks vanished before they reached the ground. Before they reached the ground. Before they reached the ground. Popularity of something will vanish with time. Nothing will last forever. Nothing will last forever. The sound of the siren from the ambulance vanished as we went further from the ambulance. The siren from the ambulance, the siren of the ambulance vanished as we went further from the ambulance. As we went further from the ambulance, the sound of the siren started to vanish. Vanished gradually. As we went further from the ambulance, the sound of the siren gradually vanished. Please make sure to vanish all of the fire before you leave. just for in case, so that the house won't get fire. In order that the house won't get fire, please make sure that you banish all of the fire switch for fear that the house will get fire. Rest of the house should get fire in case that the house would get fire. The citizens think that the wrongdoings were vanished by someone in authority in the entity and related entities. The citizens bet that the wrongdoings were vanished by people in authority in the related associations, entities, and so on. Some people believe that the wrongdoings done by the company were vanished by people in authority in the related field. And some people vanish all of the data online at some point in their lives. Some people decide to delete all of the information or data or pictures online. Some people decide to delete all of the information. Some people decide to banish all of the information put online. What did you pray for on the new year at the shrine this year? Do you remember what you prayed for at the shrine this year on New Year? Do you remember what you prayed for at the shrine on January 1st this year? Do you remember what you prayed at the shrine on January 1st? I don't remember what I prayed at the shrine on January 1st. You can see many students praying for their success in examinations before the examination season, during the examination season, especially December and January, February, especially maybe February, December, because the Kyoto test is going to be held every January. So many students pray at the shrine dedicated to the academy or arts, to pray for their success in the examinations. I hope my prayer has been reached to the ancestors and God. Prayer. How often do you pray? I hope my prayer will have reached. I hope my prayer has 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 reached the God. Prayer. The style of prayer is different according to the religion. The prayer style differs according to the religion. Are you playful? Some people tend to be playful only before something important. Some people are apt to be playful only before something big performance. Playful, playful, playful. Playful, playful, playful. Prayerful, prayerful, prayerful. My grandmother is very prayerful, praying for her ancestors every day. Prayerful person, going to shrine or temple every day. Prayerful. Some people become prayerful after someone's death. Prayerful decision. She made a prayerful decision. Prayerful, 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 prayerful attitude, prayerful character, prayerful character, prayerful character, prayerful personality. And some people are prayerful while others are not. Some people are prayerful while others are not. Some people are very prayerful, going to shrine every day. Some people tend to be prayerful only before something big performance, such as examination, playing on the stage, job interview, and so on. Prayerful. Prayerful people will never skip visiting ancestors' graves on Obon season, Buddhist holidays. A prayerful person will never skip visiting ancestors' grave, especially during the Obon season. Prayerful, 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 prayerful. 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 prayerful person. I've been prayerful. I've been prayerful since the death of the ancestor recently. I've been prayerful oriented recently after the death of the ancestor. And some people tend to be prayerful when they want to make something come true. Some people tend to be prayerful when they want to make something come true. And some people are inclined to be prayerful when they want to make something come true. Have you seen the large statue of the Buddha stored in Todaiji Temple? I was astonished by the size of the statue. It's so huge. I was asked the directions to the lion statue by someone stranger after visiting the spot. I was asked the directions to the lion statue. I was asked the directions. I was asked the directions to the lion statue after visiting the spot. I told him which would take about 5-minute walk from here. Who do you look up to the most? Who do you look up to the most? I used to look up to the celebrity until he was arrested for the corruption, wrongdoing. All of the employees in my department can look up to the direct bosses, but not the CEO. I don't know why. Look down on others. Don't look down on others. We have to obey the constitution, law, rule, policy, and so on. If you fail to obey the rules in this facility, you will be forced to be out of the facility. Please bear that in mind. Please keep that in mind. So please obey the rules while you are in the facility. Obey. No one would obey. No one will obey. No one will obey to your order. No one will obey to the decisions or directions made by faithless person. Obedience is sometimes or frequently more evaluated than the skills or speed of the work. Obedience to the directions from boss is sometimes more evaluated than the skill or the speed of the work. Obedience. Are you obedient to the decisions or orders from your boss or teacher or parent? Obedience. 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 Obedience to decisions made by your boss. Some people will be obedient only to the decisions made by someone they look up to. Some people will be obedient to the decisions made by those whom they look up to. Some people will be obedient to the decisions or directions made by those whom they respect, whom they respect, whom they look up to. Obedience. Some people will be obedient to the decisions made by those whom they respect, whom they look up to. Some people will be obedient to the decisions made by those whom they respect, whom they look up to. Obedient, 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 obedient. There are definitely obedient person to the rule, while others are not. There are definitely those who cannot be obedient to the rules. There are definitely those who cannot be obedient to the decisions made by boss. There are definitely absolutely some people who won't be obedient to the decisions, rules, policies, and so on. There are absolutely some people who are not obedient to the decisions made by the executives. Obedient. What made you want to be a prime minister? What made you want to be the prime minister? To become prime minister, first you have to be elected as a Diet member. And from the Diet members, the prime minister will be chosen. And finally, the emperor will designate you as a prime minister. So the step will be so high, very difficult. The prime minister. I listened to the minister explaining how to overcome difficulties. I listened to the missionary explaining how to overcome difficulties, hardships, predicaments, mayhem, chaos, and so on. Minister. I will have to minister to my parents when they get older. I had a classmate from another country. He was hoping to work in Japan, but he went back to his native country to minister to his parents. He was very thoughtful about the future. While I was hospitalized, my grandmother and other family members ministered to me. I was ministered to. I was ministered to while I was sick in the hospital. I was ministered to by the nurses, doctors, family members, teachers, classmates, and so on. I appreciate it. I was ministered to while I was suffering from the disease at hospital. Nurses, doctors, family members, classmates, teachers ministered to me while I was suffering from the disease in the hospital. I don't want to experience the same thing again. So since then, I've been taking care of my health a lot. Minister. I will have to minister to my parents when they get older. I wonder who will be ministering to my parents if I live in another country, far away from Japan, in the future. Maybe they will enter nursing home. I'm searching for somebody who can minister to my pet while I'm away on the trip. I'm searching for someone who can minister to my pet dog while I'm away on the business trip. Because I live alone, so leaving the pet dog alone for a week will be risky. I'm looking for somebody who can minister to my pet dog, who can care for my pet dog, who can take care of my pet dog, who can look after my pet dog. Minister. The nurse is in charge of ministering to the kids in the second floor. The nurses on the second floor are in charge of the children. The nurses on the second floor are in charge of ministering to the children. The nurses, doctors, and other staff on the second floor are in charge of ministering to the kids. My grandma told me that ministering to me was tough as ministering to two of the persons, two kids. My grandma told me that ministering to me was as tough as ministering to two kids. because I was running away immediately if the protector looked away from me. My grandma often told me that ministering to me was as hard as ministering to 2 or 3 kids at once, because I was soon running away from my protector when they looked away from me. And can I choose who will be ministering to me when I get sick at the hospital? The houses which are not ministering to, which are not being ministered to, might be taxed more, according to rumor. The houses without maintenance and not being ministered to might be taxed higher in the future. The houses which are not ministered to might be taxed higher, put on imposed higher tax. The houses which are not ministered to might be imposed higher tax. The associate professor ministered the operation on the patient, and which succeeded. The associate professor doctor ministered the operation on the patient. Who will be ministered to you when you get older? Look back on my days. My days was almost filled with the life in the hospital, being ministered to by nurses, doctors, family members, and so on. So I took the course evidently not many people will take. I took the course of the life in my adolescence, which not many people will take. I hope my daughter will minister to me when she get older, when both she and me get older. The nurses on the second floor are in charge of ministering to the children, kids. The nurses on the second floor of the building, a hospital, are in charge of ministering to the kids. The professor doctor conducted operated on the operation, conducted the operation, performed the operation, delivered the operation, ministered the operation. The, the surgeon is to minister the operation on the patient tomorrow. The surgeon is supposed to minister the operation on the patient tomorrow. The surgeon is supposed to minister the operation on the patient. Minister the operation, minister the festival, minister the sports meeting. Whether or not the sports meeting will be ministered depends on the discretion of the principal. Whether or not the sports meeting will be ministered, it's all up to the principal of the school. Whether or not the sports meeting will be ministered depends on the degree of the rain. Whether or not the sports meeting will be ministered on schedule hinges on the weather. Fortunately, thanks to daily good behavior of the children, it turned sunny, although the weather forecasted rainy. Although the weather forecast was predicting rainy on the day when sports meeting was held, it turned sunny thanks to the daily good behavior of the students, said the principal. To my surprise, the wedding ceremony was ministered from 8 o'clock p.m. I was tired after sightseeing. To my surprise, the wedding ceremony was ministered after 8 o'clock p.m. To my surprise, the wedding ceremony was ministered from 8 o'clock p.m. Is it normal? Minister. I usually minister my duty at the office when nobody else is there. I'd like to know if there is a place where the PCR inspection is ministered. I'd like to know if the PCR inspection is still ministered in the airport before and after the departure. Arrival. I'd like to know the situation of the airport now. Is the PCR inspection ministered at the arrival of the airport. On arriving at the airport, or before the departure. I'd like to know if the PCR inspection is ministered before and after the arrival, or is it lifted already, or has it been lifted already, I'd like to know if there is a PCR inspection ministered before and after the arrival. Has it been still conducted, ministered? Has the PCR inspection been ministered yet? Has the PCR inspection been ministered yet? Has the PCR inspection still been ministered? Has the PCR inspection been ministered yet? In the airport, in the country. I'd like to know if the PCR inspection has been still ministered. I'd like to know if the PCR inspection has been still ministered at the airport. Or has it been lifted? Can I enter the country without any inspections already, like before Corona era? If I could restart my life again, I would try to enter the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Which ministry are you interested in entering? Which ministry are you interested in entering? The Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, Travel Agency, Meteorological Agency. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. Is the examination for becoming a doctor conducted by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, right? Is the national examination for becoming a doctor administered by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, right? I'd like to ask if the national examination to become a doctor is administered by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, right? Ministry. The Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of the Environment, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. I was often told by my teachers and other related people to reflect on the examination questions more before I asked them the answers or explanations. I was often told to reflect on the questions taught on the examination before I asked the directions, explanations, answers, and so on. I was often told to reflect on the questions more before I looked at the answers. It will take time for the money to be reflected on your account. It also differs from the speed also differs by which bank account you use, which follows the policy of your bank account. I was often told to reflect on the questions taught on the examinations before I asked the answers, explanations, and so on. I was often told to reflect on the questions of the examinations or test before I asked answers, before I asked answers, before I asked answers, before I asked answer, asked, before I asked the answers, 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 explanations, and so on. After reflecting on whether or not I would sell the watch, I decided to sell it because I never used it for a long time, which was waste of money and time. The compact discs are seen hang on the fence because the surface of the compact disc reflects the sunlight, which will be effective maybe to drive away birds, maybe, I don't know. I sometimes see many compact discs hang on the fence in the paddy field, maybe to drive away birds or some other animals eating the rice or harvest crops and so on. Have you seen the five-story pagoda reflected on the lake? Have you seen the five-storied pagoda reflected on the lake? No. The lake is famous for the reflection of the five-story pagoda. Five-storied pagoda. It will take time for the money transfer to be reflected. It will take time for the money transfer to be reflected. It will take time for the change to be reflected on the platform. I felt so bright from the reflection of the sunlight on the surface of the window. The reflection of the sunlight on the window or a mirror can be very risky, very dangerous while we are driving. The reflection of light on the surface of mirror, window, or other materials can be very dangerous when we are driving. I could watch the reflection of the TV on the window. I was wondering why. I could watch the reflection of the TV screen on the window. I was wondering why. The TV screen was reflected on the window, and I was watching it. The TV screen was reflected on the window. The seawater was reflecting the sunlight, and which sometimes hit my eyes. The seawater was reflecting the sunlight, which affected my eyes sometimes. I saw the seawater reflecting the sunlight from a distance. I was seeing the seawater reflecting the sunlight from a distance. I was looking at the seawater reflecting the sunlight from a distance. There are many objects on the road, street, and everywhere reflecting the sunlight, which will affect our driving. So we have to be careful using the reflection protector overhead, set up on the overhead. We can use the reflection or light protector attached on the overhead when we are driving, because it is too bright to drive a car. There are many objects reflecting the sunlight, and which will affect our driving, walking, running, whatsoever. There are many objects reflecting the light dangerously to the driver, cyclister, walker, runner. So we have to be careful. There are many objects reflecting the sunlight or other light, affecting our movement, especially driving. Online money transfer is very quick to reflect the money transfer. Money transfer is reflected so quickly online, which is amazing. I look at the 5-storied pagoda reflected on the lake. The lake reflects the 5-story pagoda. I saw a 5-storied pagoda reflected on the lake. I'd like to know how long will it take for the money transfer to be reflected in my bank account. I'd like to know how long it will take for the money transfer to be reflected in my bank account. Excuse me, I'd like to know how long it will take for the money transfer to be reflected on my bank account, because there are some imminent bills I have to pay by today. Let me see. It will be usually reflected immediately as soon as the sender finishes the transaction. It is usually transferred immediately soon after the sender finishes the transactions. I see. But the speed differs according to which bank account you use. I don't know the name of the tool which is equipped on the overhead of the car to protect our eyes from the reflection of the light. 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 I don't know the name of the tool which is equipped with on the overhead of the driving seat and the assistant driving seat to protect our eyes from the reflection of the light. 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 On reflection, I decided to enter the university. After reflection, I decided not to take on the job. On reflection, I decided to take on the offer, undertake the offer. After reflection, I decided to take on the offer. On reflection, 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 on reflection. I decided to live in Hokkaido. On reflection with my family, we decided to live in Okinawa. On reflection, on reflection, on reflection, on reflection, on reflection. On reflection, on reflection. On reflection, I decided to sell the video games. On reflection, I decided to sell the jewelries, which I never use. On reflection, after reflection, on reflection, after reflection, on reflection, after reflection, on 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 reflection. On reflection, I decided to let go of unwanted documents. On reflection, I decided to get rid of let go of the things which I did not use for 3 years. Mm. After reflection, I decided to sell all of the things which I never used for 3 years in a row. Mm. On reflection, after reflection, did you make the decision on reflection or immediately? Did you even try to think it over before the decision, before making the decision? Did you make the decision on reflection? On reflection, after reflection, did you make the decision on reflection or without thinking at all? Did you make the decision on reflection, on reflection, on reflection, after reflection? The politics should be reflective of public opinions, public hopes, expectations, opinions, and so on. Politics should be reflective of public opinions. Are there the best ways? Is there a best way? Is there a best way to reflect public opinions in politics? Is there the best way to be reflective of public opinions in politics? Do you know the proportional representation system? Proportional representation system in the politics. Do you know the proportional representation system when choosing a diet member, parliament member? Reflective. Seawater is also reflective of the sunlight. I'm so glad the company is reflective of my ideas in the production line. I'm so happy to know that the company is now reflective of my ideas in the assembly line. Reflective, reflective. Reflective. Reflective about music sheet. I was often told to be reflective about the music sheet and focus on the sound played by me to make it beautifuler, more beautiful. Reflective, 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 reflective person, reflective person, reflective person. Are you reflective about making a decision? Are you reflective about making a decision? Reflective, reflective, reflective. Reflective, reflective about the shopping, reflective about shopping, reflective about what to buy, reflective about where to stay when traveling. I'm very reflective. I'm very reflective about where to stay during the trip because I cannot sleep with anyone else. Reflective, reflective. Making an instant decision uh, sometimes more important than being reflective about being reflective. Making an instant decision is sometimes more important than being reflective because the chance might not come back again. Sometimes we have to make a quick decision, and making a quick decision is sometimes more important than being reflective. Are you reflective about making a decision? Are you reflective about which to, who to spend time with? Are you reflective about with whom you spend time with on holidays? Are you reflective of whom you are getting in touch with? Are you reflective about which friends you will make? Are you reflective about who to who to get along with, who to contact? Are you reflective about with whom you contact for a long time. Reflective person, or the reverse. I was often told to be more reflective about playing the sound of the musical instrument. I was often told to be more reflective about playing the sound. I was often told by my music teacher to be more reflective about the sound played by me. I was often told by my music teacher to be more reflective about the sound before I sound rude sound. I was often told by my music teacher to be more reflective about the sound before I make a mistake. Before I made a mistake. The politics should be reflective of public opinions. The politics should be reflective of the public opinions. I saw the seawater being reflective of the sunlight. There are many objects being reflective of direct sunlight, which can affect our eyes and dangerous. There are many objects out there reflective of the direct sunlight. We've got over many unbearable experiences, which made us what we are now. How do you cope with the situation when you face unbearable situation? How do you cope with unbearable situation once you are faced with? How do you deal with unbearable situation? How do you cope with unbearable situation? Unbearable. Snoring sound is the last thing I can bear. Snoring sound is the last thing to be able to bear for me. Snoring sound is the last thing that I can bear, withstand, put up with, endure. Snoring sound is the last thing that I can bear, endure, put up with, withstand. Snoring sound is unbearable to me. Snoring sound is the worst thing in the world for me. Unbearable pain. Unbearable thing. What is the most unbearable thing in the society for you? What is the most unbearable thing in your life? Snoring sound? Snoring sound is one of the unbearable things for me. Snoring sound is one of the unbearable things for me. Unbearable. Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you.